Today, you will train your ears, and your English will start changing naturally. Not with difficult grammar, not with memorizing words, but with listening, deep listening. In this video, you will learn 12 powerful listening techniques that help English sound more clear, more natural, and easier to speak. So relax your mind, listen carefully, and speak with me slowly. Don't worry about mistakes. Just follow the sound, copy the rhythm, and enjoy the practice. The more you listen, the more your brain starts understanding English naturally, and little by little, you will stop translating and start thinking in English. So take a deep breath, speak softly with me, and let's begin this shadowing practice. I didn't expect the meeting to end so quickly. She looked at me like she already knew the answer. The cafe was quieter than usual today. I almost forgot what I wanted to say. That movie was actually better than I expected. He kept checking his phone during the conversation. I wasn't ready for that question at all. The train arrived a few minutes earlier today. Someone left the window open all night long. I didn't realize how tired I was. She sounded different on the phone today. The room felt colder after the rain started. I thought you were joking at first. Everything became quiet for a few seconds. He didn't explain what really happened. That was probably the best part of the trip. I could hear people talking in the next room. She smiled, but didn't say anything. I wasn't paying attention for a moment. The lights suddenly went off during dinner. He looked confused. After reading the message, the music sounded softer from far away. I didn't mean to sound upset earlier. She walked away without saying goodbye. I've never seen this place so crowded before. That explanation made things much clearer for me. He stayed quiet the entire time. The weather changed really fast this evening. I wasn't expecting such an honest answer. Someone was knocking on the door repeatedly. The conversation suddenly became very serious. I almost missed the last bus home. She looked nervous before the presentation started. I don't usually drink coffee this late. That sound came from somewhere outside. He seemed distracted during the whole meeting. I noticed something strange in his voice. The restaurant was completely full by 8 o'clock. She didn't reply for several hours. I could feel the tension in the room. The sky looked beautiful after the storm. The discussion became more complicated than I expected. The discussion became more complicated than I expected. I could tell something was bothering him deeply. I could tell something was bothering him deeply. She hesitated before answering the final question. Nobody seemed prepared for the sudden announcement. The entire situation felt strangely uncomfortable today. He reacted calmly despite all the pressure around him. I didn't fully understand what she was implying. The atmosphere inside the hall felt incredibly tense. She avoided eye contact during the whole conversation. The manager sounded frustrated. During the online meeting, I suddenly remembered where I had seen him before. The crowd slowly became quieter. After the speech started, he carefully reread the message several times in silence. Something about that explanation didn't feel completely honest. The conversation drifted into a completely unexpected topic. She remained surprisingly calm throughout the difficult discussion. I noticed a slight change in her attitude today. The streets looked unusually empty. During the afternoon, he quietly admitted that he had made a mistake. The presentation ended much sooner than anyone expected. I couldn't ignore the awkward silence between them. She sounded uncertain. While explaining the situation to us, the lights flickered briefly during the heavy rain outside. He looked exhausted after traveling the entire night. The conversation became more serious after that comment. I almost didn't recognize him after so many years. She kept glancing outside, as if waiting for someone. The office felt unusually quiet. Early this morning, he responded politely, although he seemed slightly annoyed. I couldn't figure out why everyone was acting strange. The train suddenly stopped in the middle of nowhere. She appeared genuinely surprised by the unexpected reaction. The movie became more emotional near the ending scenes. He carefully placed the documents back on the table. I didn't expect the decision to change so quickly. The weather remained unusually warm late into the evening. She spoke softly, so nobody else could overhear. The audience listened carefully. Throughout the entire discussion, he seemed distracted by something on his mind today. I wasn't comfortable discussing that topic publicly. The sound outside became louder as the storm approached. She paused briefly before continuing her explanation calmly. I could sense tension between the two coworkers immediately. The elevator doors opened slowly, After a long delay, the elevator doors opened slowly. After a long delay, he appeared more confident during the second presentation today. The cafe suddenly became crowded. Around lunchtime today, she quietly apologized for arriving much later than planned. I kept wondering whether I had misunderstood everything earlier. The meeting continued longer than anyone had anticipated. He looked around carefully before lowering his voice completely. The restaurant smelled amazing as soon as we walked inside. I couldn't concentrate properly because of the noise outside. She carefully folded the letter before putting it away. The traffic seemed worse than usual this afternoon. He casually mentioned something that caught everyone's attention. I nearly dropped my phone while answering the call. The room suddenly felt warmer after the heater started working. She quietly stepped outside to take the phone call. I didn't notice the time until it became completely dark. The conversation turned awkward after that unexpected comment. He leaned back quietly and stared at the ceiling. The streets were still wet from the earlier rain. I wasn't expecting such a detailed explanation from her. She adjusted her glasses before reading the document aloud. The atmosphere changed immediately when he entered the room. I kept replaying that moment in my head repeatedly. The store remained open much later than usual tonight. He lowered his voice. When someone walked past us, I could barely hear her over the loud music. The elevator made a strange sound before stopping suddenly. She seemed unusually cheerful despite the stressful situation. I accidentally sent the message to the wrong person. The cafe became quieter after most people had left. He tapped the desk slowly while thinking about the answer. I didn't expect everyone to agree so quickly. The lights inside the building stayed on all night. She glanced at the clock several times during dinner. I wasn't completely convinced by his explanation earlier. The wind outside sounded stronger later in the evening. He carefully checked everything before signing the agreement. I almost laughed at the way he reacted. The hallway looked darker than it usually does. She remained silent for a surprisingly long time. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened yesterday afternoon. The bus arrived unexpectedly early this morning downtown. He slowly nodded, as if he finally understood everything. as if he finally understood everything. I didn't realize how crowded the place had become. I didn't realize how crowded the place had become. The discussion became more intense after the second question. The discussion became more intense after the second question. She quietly laughed after hearing the strange story. She quietly laughed after hearing the strange story. I noticed a scratch on the side of the car. I noticed a scratch on the side of the car. The movie theater was almost empty during the late show. The movie theater was almost empty during the late show. He seemed more relaxed after speaking with the manager. He seemed more relaxed after speaking with the manager. I could sense hesitation in the way she responded. I could sense hesitation in the way she responded. The rain started again, right before we left outside. The rain started again, right before we left outside. She carefully wrapped the gift with silver paper. She carefully wrapped the gift with silver paper. I wasn't aware that the rules had changed recently. I wasn't aware that the rules had changed recently. The sound of footsteps echoed through the empty hallway. The sound of footsteps echoed through the empty hallway. He stared out the window without saying a single word. He stared out the window without saying a single word. I nearly forgot where I had parked the car. I nearly forgot where I had parked the car. The entire audience remained silent during the final announcement. The entire audience remained silent during the final announcement. Despite all the preparation, the negotiation collapsed unexpectedly. Despite all the preparation, the negotiation collapsed unexpectedly. She deliberately avoided answering the more sensitive questions. She deliberately avoided answering the more sensitive questions. I couldn't entirely comprehend the reasoning behind that decision. I couldn't entirely comprehend the reasoning behind that decision. The conference room gradually filled with tense anticipation. The conference room gradually filled with tense anticipation. He responded with remarkable patience under immense pressure. He responded with remarkable patience under immense pressure. The announcement triggered confusion throughout the entire department. The announcement triggered confusion throughout the entire department. I found his explanation surprisingly vague, considering the circumstances. I found his explanation surprisingly vague, considering the circumstances. She maintained an unusually composed expression during the argument. She maintained an unusually composed expression during the argument. The atmosphere became increasingly uncomfortable as the silence continued. The atmosphere became increasingly uncomfortable as the silence continued. He reluctantly admitted that the original plan had failed. He reluctantly admitted that the original plan had failed. I wasn't fully convinced by the evidence they presented. I wasn't fully convinced by the evidence they presented. The audience reacted with visible disappointment. After the announcement, the audience reacted with visible disappointment after the announcement. She subtly changed the subject before anyone noticed. She subtly changed the subject before anyone noticed. The proposal raised several concerns among senior management members. The proposal raised several concerns among senior management members. I could immediately sense that something had gone terribly wrong. I could immediately sense that something had gone terribly wrong. He appeared genuinely frustrated by the repeated misunderstandings. He appeared genuinely frustrated by the repeated misunderstandings. The conversation gradually shifted toward more controversial issues. The conversation gradually shifted toward more controversial issues. She carefully analyzed every detail before making a decision. She carefully analyzed every detail before making a decision. The unexpected delay created complications for the entire schedule. The unexpected delay created complications for the entire schedule. I struggled to interpret the meaning behind his reaction. I struggled to interpret the meaning behind his reaction. He quietly observed everyone without participating in the discussion. He quietly observed everyone without participating in the discussion. The situation escalated rapidly beyond anyone's expectations. The situation escalated rapidly beyond anyone's expectations. She expressed her concerns in an exceptionally calm manner. She expressed her concerns in an exceptionally calm manner. I didn't anticipate such a dramatic response from them. I didn't anticipate such a dramatic response from them. The committee remained divided despite hours of discussion. The committee remained divided, despite hours of discussion. He hesitated briefly, before revealing the final results. He hesitated briefly, before revealing the final results. The entire incident could have been avoided with clearer communication. The entire incident could have been avoided with clearer communication. She appeared noticeably uncomfortable throughout the formal interview. She appeared noticeably uncomfortable throughout the formal interview. I found the explanation unnecessarily complicated for such a simple issue. I found the explanation unnecessarily complicated for such a simple issue. The discussion reached a critical point late in the evening. The discussion reached a critical point late in the evening. He consistently underestimated the complexity of the situation. He consistently underestimated the complexity of the situation. The sudden interruption completely altered the direction of the meeting. The sudden interruption completely altered the direction of the meeting. She responded diplomatically. Despite the hostile tone of the question, she responded diplomatically. Despite the hostile tone of the question, I couldn't ignore the growing tension between the two groups. I couldn't ignore the growing tension between the two groups. The revised proposal contained several inconsistencies that raised concerns. The revised proposal contained several inconsistencies that raised concerns. He remained remarkably calm throughout the entire confrontation. He remained remarkably calm throughout the entire confrontation. The unexpected announcement generated speculation across the organization. The unexpected announcement generated speculation across the organization. Good job today. Little by little, your listening will become sharper and your speaking will start feeling more natural. Don't worry if everything still feels slow right now. Real improvement happens quietly, through daily repetition, through calm practice. The more you listen carefully, the easier English becomes for your mind. And the more you shadow out loud, the more confidence you build naturally. So keep coming back, keep listening slowly, and keep speaking with the rhythm you hear. One small practice every day can change your fluency more than you think. Thank you for spending these moments with me. If this shadowing practice helped you relax and improve your listening a little today, you can support the channel with a like and subscribe for more calm English practice. And feel free to leave a comment. Tell me which technique helped you the most. Until next time, keep listening softly, keep speaking calmly, and enjoy your English journey.